So I'm kind of a big fan of Moses. He has a certain attitude that I can appreciate. If you read the 10 or so verses before today's first reading, you'll see that Moses is complaining to God because the people just won't let up. They're talking about how they're tired of eating this manna. They've missed their leeks and all the other stuff that they had in Egypt. Granted, see the irony in all of that they're upset with getting bread coming down from heaven for them. And Moses says to God, if this is how you treat your servants, do me the favor of killing me now. I'm tired of all of this stuff going on. But in answer to this prayer of Moses, he takes some of the spirit that he's given to Moses and puts it on these 70 elders. So now he has people to help him in the governing of this vast people of Israel. But then there's this curious exchange with these two individuals who were supposed to be there for the conferral of the Spirit, and then they didn't show up for whatever reason. Maybe they slept in, who knows what happened. And Joshua and others are jealous for the sake of Moses. They say, stop them from prophesying, and Moses said, would that everybody had the Spirit of the Lord and everybody prophesied, because that'd be a whole better deal for me. Then I wouldn't have to focus on all of this stuff. I think we can be tempted sometimes to want to hold in what we've got, kind of almost want to be exclusive with the gifts of God, or maybe any other gifts. I can think of times in my own schooling, for instance, where there was this hyper-competitiveness. You wanted to get the top of the grades, so somehow you'd be better than everybody else, and if you didn't, you were somehow less than everybody else, like a number actually defines who you are, or something like that. We kind of have this desire to hold things in, because if we don't, we feel like the conclusion would be we're not valuable anymore, that this has to belong to certain individuals. Jesus is kind of giving this same message in the gospel reading, and it's challenging because the apostles are saying, hey, we're the guys who follow you, and these guys are casting out demons in your name, and they don't follow, notice very carefully, they don't follow us. They don't say they don't follow you, Jesus. They don't follow us. That's nefarious right there. I think God is very much concerned with the way we do things. That's why I'm a priest. That's why the Mass should be carefully celebrated. If you look through the Old Testament, there's umpteen jillion laws about how the tabernacle is supposed to be kept and how priests are supposed to be ordained and all the rest. Those are all vastly important. But I think sometimes in following the importance of all of these details, we might be tempted to limit the power of God. I know sometimes we can look at maybe other churches, other denominations, other religions and say, man, they're so messed up, or maybe even other structures in the world and say, that's just all trash. But praise God that we are not him, and that he is very liberal with where he bestows his Spirit. Just because this guy was not following in Jesus' company doesn't mean that he wasn't able to do mighty things through the name of Christ. There was some connection there that let things happen. One of my favorite quotes, and it's even in the Catechism, I'd say it a little differently than the Catechism does, which probably means it's not that great, but God is bound to the sacraments, but does not bind himself. Oh, no, I said it wrong. God has bound himself to the sacraments, but he is not bound to the sacraments. That still doesn't sound right. The point I'm trying to make is God has somehow tied himself into what we do here at Mass, what we do in all of the sacraments, but he hasn't bound himself so tightly that he has refused to work in any other way. God is not a genie that whenever we rub the magic lamp of the Mass, then we are conferred grace, although he has bound himself in that way. We can definitely find grace here at the altar. But he is so good and so loving to us that he has also decided to work outside of those ordinary means to save all people. He has appeared in the most extraordinary of places, and only extraordinary because they're not places that we would ever, I think that we could find him. He's that good. So as we're wandering through the chaos that could be life sometimes, I want more and more on all of our hearts to be able to see where God might be moving. Is he moving in a class that you don't particularly care about, amongst people that you don't really know? Are there connections between you and friends that maybe you hadn't previously seen before, that the grace of God is somehow in there? Because, quite frankly, this place could be overflowing with people, and it's not, for any number of reasons. And somehow that's still okay, because God can still touch hearts outside of this building. How does he want to touch those hearts? How does he want to reach out? Thankfully, he continues to send his Spirit. And I hope part of what that Spirit looks like is him sending you to reach out into the world that so desperately needs to know him.